On this week's show, while we work on our next bestseller, we can't help but think about, as D2D gets ready to launch fully, how will all the bells and whistles be ready? Well, an old merger just might give us a chance to find a way. We will break it all down with our expert roundtable panel. Then C.L. Cannon will be along sharing multiple indie books that venture into the depths of the dark woods to find indies to rescue us. All the while, Adam Johnson's 5 minutes aims to save us from ourselves. So sit down, grab your coffee, and let's get to talking about all these issues and more. Here's your host for This Week in Indies, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Indies for February 20th, 2022. Nice of you to all join us. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. We've got a great show ahead for you. We have the round table, and we're going to have some discussions about, yes, more merger talk. But I promise you, we're going to get through it at some point. But it's just one of those stories, man. I mean, I'll milk it for as long as it wants to be milked. But that being said, I made Margaret crack up. Yay! My day is made. All right. But that being said, welcome to the show. And, I thought this week, since I don't have a sponsorship, we would sponsor ourselves and say, you got to check out our blog, because this is what we posted this week, myself and Mr. JD Estrada, who you'll see here in a moment. But this is what we have going for you. If you haven't checked it out, these reviews are on the blog right now.
I've been planning a road trip up north. Why don't you come with me?
Okay.
It's gonna be so much fun.
This could be a terrible mistake.
Surprise!
How long do you think it'll take before she calls?
About an hour.
That's what I'm thinking.
When I left the house this morning, I was a mom,
I still have no idea why you want to do this.
a daughter,
So you are traveling with a virtual stranger. Oh my God, Mary Beth, what do you even know about her?
a wife, though soon to be ex-wife.
I certainly didn't expect a divorce.
I'm gonna start over.
No, just quiet.
You want to get in the hot tub?
Woo. Yeah.
I came here purposely because I know that Davina can help you figure out where you're going.
Who really wants to know the future?
Everyone?
Is there a shower?
I usually just take a couple of buckets of water and pour it over myself.
Might have to help me with that.
I know that you two have gotten close. What I see in your future is not easy. Leaving one life to start another. But in the end, you will find you.
That's right. Freshbutteredpopcorn.blogspot.com. Go check it out. Enough of dilly dallying. Let's meet our panel, everybody. Here's the round table for everybody. Welcome all to the show. That's kind of weird. I've got a Margaret JD sandwich going with me here, so it's a little odd. But welcome everybody. Let me do this. It just makes me feel better. All right. I'm the host. Damn it! I gotta feel better. All right. All right. Welcome everybody, and let's go around the room before we get to talking about more merger talk. But let's have everybody introduce themselves. So Margaret, start us off.
Hey everybody, I'm Margaret Pinard, like Captain Picard from Star Trek, and I'm a historical fiction writer. I've got 5 books out. I have a lovely YouTube channel here. This is my favorite playground. Haven't published in a while, but we're working on that. We're playing in the novella neighborhood. So excited to talk with people today, and happy Sunday.
Awesome. Because you know what, not being published lately means that gives everybody a chance to catch up on what you've already published.
There you go.
All right, Mr. JD Estrada.
Greetings, fellow humans. My name is JD Estrada. I'm an indie author from Puerto Rico who decided to move to Atlanta so I can see the season premiere of The Walking Dead or some shit. Anyways, since I'm all about indies, I did the indie game review for Jenny Hickman. If you like middle grade adventure stories, man, it was a lot of fun. Not a hard game, very fun. Art direction and voice acting, some of the best I've ever played, and I've been playing for 30 plus years. I'm also drinking indie tea because this is from a local shop that's called Almas & Co. It's green tea, chamomile, lavender, and rose petals. If you're feeling stressed because 2022 is being 2022, recommend that.
You know, I'll go ahead and do my joke for the audience. Maybe the audience will laugh and get it since nobody in the panel did, but JD's drinking Serenity now. All right, cricket. All right, Adam.
Hello, I'm Adam Johnson. I'm a fantasy author and so many other things. I do all kinds of shit. Co-host with Joe on Kingdom of Heavy as well. I have a new novella out, and I'm really excited just to dive in and talk about this. I've been absent from your conversation.
Awesome. Yeah. I think everybody here hasn't had an opportunity to talk about it, so that's good news. All right. Maybe we'll get a fresh perspective. I don't know, because I'm all out of perspective at this point. But Courtney?
Hey, I am Courtney Cannon, aka CL Cannon. I am a YA fantasy author and a publisher and lots of other stuff with the on the end of it. I do a little bit of everything. I do a few shows here on Go Indie Now, like the Indie Connection, which you'll see today, and the monthly marketing tip. And I'm excited to talk about this too.
Awesome. You know, I always, it's just a weird paradigm shift whenever Courtney's here. We have to go into the Indie Connection, but that's especially since a lot of you have been commenting she's not in her car for the Indie Connection, which she's not.
I'm in it today, guys.
But she's there today. So all of you complainers out there, suck it. All right.
I love my new office. Okay, guys. So.
Welcome everybody. So let's, since you all are new to the conversation that we've been having over the last few weeks, I don't know if you've been watching. Yeah, actually, I know Margaret's been watching because she's commented along the way, and I know probably you all have been watching a little bit. I know Courtney watched a little bit too, and so give us your insights. What are you excited about? What is something that you look at when you look at this merger? Let's talk about the merger first, and then we'll talk about the future and what it holds. So I would love to get your insights. So whoever wants to jump in, go for it.
Well, maybe Smashwords will work now. How about that? In all the time that I've had my books on Smashwords, I've had 2 sales, 1 sale. And I tried to do it, and Drafted Digital was also a bust. But people are so hungry to get another option besides the Zon that maybe it's the time that we can pivot. Hopefully that helps. And also, I'm not sure everyone else in the panel, but at least for me, my plans for doing audiobooks, I do plan on narrating most of my books, and they basically were at a standstill because I was seeing everything that was happening with Audiblegate, and I'm like, do I want more drama in my life? How about no? And seeing this as a viable option, even though Spotify bought it and people might have a beef with Spotify, but in terms of that topic, then I canceled my subscription with Spotify, and now I'm on Tidal just to give another platform that gives artists more money a chance. And so far, so good.
I'll address that part of it a little bit later, but yeah, that is a concern for some people, but we'll talk about it. Margaret, Courtney, Adam, you guys want to give your thoughts on the merger?
I think Draft to Digital itself is actually a pretty good platform. I mean, especially when it comes to like royalties and things like that, because they handle all those things really well. So if you're like more on the publishing side or running collections for people and things like that, it's much easier to do it that way because they handle the royalties, they handle the delivery, everything like that. And it's just kind of just as similar as wide marketing, because they it's just another platform, like JD said, and people are itching for that kind of thing, which is great, and so I hope the merger of these two companies are going to bring a lot of good things moving forward. And I mean, they're moving into audiobooks as well. I know Joe's going to talk about that in a little bit as well, and that's definitely going to be huge for the industry moving forward as well. So I'm excited to see what they do with it.
I'm really sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Okay. I'm really excited because Draft to Digital, even though I don't use it for as many things because I actually do everything individually. I sign up because I'm crazy. I sign up to all the platforms and do it all myself. But I have a lot of clients. It just makes it a lot easier for people starting out to kind of get on there and go wide and have everything in one place. And I'm kind of like JD. I never really tried Smashwords because it just didn't seem like it was profitable enough and it wasn't managed well enough. But I think this merger is actually going to bring a lot of more innovation. And I think it's a really good thing that I'm looking forward to seeing, what's going to come out of it. If there's going to be anything new, of course, there's going to be the audio thing that we're going to talk about. So I think it's a good move, especially for Smashwords, because I feel like they were kind of flailing for a while. And I like the organization of Draft to Digital. They're always kind of on top of things, and they're always innovating and bringing out new features and improving on old ones. So I think that is going to bring new life into Smashwords, and I just think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for it.
And
here's the one person who knows Smashwords more than anything.
I'm like the only person who's been using this since the word go. So Courtney's saying Smashwords has been flailing for a while, so I'm going to take that as like, oh, they've been flailing. Yes, that's why my ebook sales. No. So I started with them and especially stayed with them because of the library connection. They were the first to come out with the library borrowing sort of deal, and so they bought 10 at a time, 15 at a time when my books came out, because the library would have a certain number of copies that I was the one where I was living anyway. And so I thought that was great. I don't know what JD's talking about in terms of not working. I do have to periodically log in, see that my book has been booted out of premium catalog, figure out what stupid little formatting thing it's messed up and whatever, porting it forward and like fix it. And that's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, the stuff just sits on there and does fine. So I had never peeked into Draft to Digital, but hearing that it's more innovative is interesting. You guys were saying in the last few episodes that we should start an account over there because of the way the merger is looking. Haven't done that yet. Not anxious to do another admin task. But so there's lots of little pieces that are very interesting to me. And one of them was the discussion that Smashwords was bought without cash. So it's a merger, but not like someone's being bought out, more like they're being
Did they use NFTs? What the?
Conjoin? Like no non-fungible tokens.
They just basically changed titles is all they did.
Yeah. And so it's going to be all working out the code and the back end and the like what you're talking about during the last show, basically.
You could think of it as a drag race, one of those illegal car races where they race for pink slips and
Okay, not RuPaul type of race.
No.
You gotta work.
Fast and Furious drag racing.
Okay.
That where they raced for pink slips and basically Mark Coker lost. So his old jalopy had to be put to pasture and he had to give up his pink slip.
Okay, what I meant about that it's not working is that I would try to promote all my stuff on Drafted Digital, share the links, do it on Smashwords, do all that, do a lot of legwork, and not see any return of investment in terms of the effort that I put out. And then
like the annual sale thing?
Any sale.
Okay, because that's what their main effort is. And I stopped doing that a while ago because I was like, I'm not seeing anything change. So why bother putting it on sale?
No, but it was like that, and what I would normally get was like, do you have it on Kindle? And I'm like, motherfucker. again, and the thing, the competitive advantage that Amazon has pretty much in all their services is the convenience and the accessibility, and it's like trying to trump Walmart in terms of prices. But I don't go to Walmart. I go to other places that do pay their employees a livable wage, and are very much nicer. My experience with Smashwords is what it is, and with Drafted Digital, I saw that the same thing that was happening on Smashwords was happening to me on Drafted Digital, and I'm like, you know what? I have so many projects going that I just can't do this. I was like, screw this.
Yeah. Yep. Valid.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the libraries, Margaret, because that was one of the innovations that Mark Coker created, actually. I mean, Overdrive didn't have any connection to Amazon or any major 5 publisher before Mark Coker did. Mark Coker was the first to get them to join together, so that's pretty awesome. It's one of the things that I mean, Mark is one of those passionate guys that really has a real affinity for indies, and it's just too bad he doesn't have a real affinity for programming, because that's the problem with Smashwords is it's about as antiquated as well. All right,
here comes Goodreads again.
I know. I've got 2 apologists here, so I'm not gonna say that. I'm just gonna back off. Let it happen. Everybody knew what I was going to say, so But yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that neither one works without the other in terms of getting to the next level, right? So Amazon, to compete with Amazon, Drafted Digital needs a storefront, and to compete with Amazon, Smashwords needs a better, interface, and so now bringing the 2 together. I don't know if that's their plan. I think that's what indies are hoping for, but getting people there has always been the issue, right? With Smashwords and convincing them not to go to Amazon, like JD was saying, and that's kind of where can Drafted Digital do that better? That's the thought process. So
I think just like early market advantage, Smashwords got me as an author or client because his emails were great. They were exciting. They were indie spirited, and so I was bought into all that. So I didn't even bother to go check out what Drafted Digital was doing because I figured it's basically the same thing. I don't need to repeat. But when you have the merging and creating a little bit more weight in the market, that's very exciting to hear because that's what they're missing for me. So yeah.
And in terms of any merger, I treat mergers and participating in a platform like I treat consoles for video games. I'm never going to get the first batch. I'm always going to wait and see how it's responding. My experience with mergers in pretty much any industry is that the first 2 or 3 months, there's a lot of kinks that they have to iron out. And people go I'm going to sign up so that I can get upfront and be part of that first wave. But I've never been with anything like that. It's like I would get like, an older iPhone model. I would wait 6 to 8 months to get a new console. Yeah, which is one of the best models, by the way. The only thing where I'm a pure full-on marketing whore is in terms of new products, and in the cereal aisle and the candy aisle. I'll try anything, because in terms of investment and time, it's not much.
Right.
If it's gonna cost me $2 to $4 and I can have a new experience, why not? But the other one, requires time, requires effort, requires focus, and all of these things I'm short on because there's adulting to be done.
Right. The learning. You don't want to waste the learning on something that's going to be a flash in the pan.
Yeah. No, we're tweaking this already, and it's like.
Mm-hmm. So JD brings us into the great segue, as always, by Mr. JD Estrada. But brings us into what we want to talk about with this and the next phase of this idea. So March 1st is when this officially launches. For everybody who didn't know that, who's been living under a rock and hasn't been watching the show, it is March 1st, and March 1st is the launch date of the tentative site that we're all going to see. But as they've reiterated, and they keep reiterating, the process is slow and things are going to take time. And both of these companies separately are running betas. They're running, we have Smashwords who's waiting for their patent to clear so that they can run their pre-sale beta. They're running a beta through that right now, but they have a patent pending on the pre-sale option. So they're waiting for that to clear. Drafted Digital's running a print beta that they've been running, 6 months now, 7 months, something to that effect. And it gets bigger and bigger and becomes less beta over time. But, this was something that was also happening back in November. For people who don't know, who didn't watch late night news, Spotify purchased Findaway Voices. And during that time, Findaway Voices was working on an independent system called Marketplace, which is a better way to find. Well, actually, it's their answer to ACX and making it a better way for indies to connect to producers. And that was kind of the niche with ACX that Findaway didn't have. Findaway basically, you sign up for Findaway found them for you kind of idea, right? So this is a more detailed system that will enable you to find the right voice for what you're trying to do, and also, create a relationship with producers in that field. And so that was being worked on while Spotify came in and swooped up Findaway Voices. And now we have an idea of how the timeline will work and how it looks, because this week Marketplace launched, and it's receiving some really good fanfare. I've seen a couple good reviews on it. I've seen some things about it. So in that respect, so you look at November to February, that's 5 months, 4 months. So you look at that. If it's a 5 month window that we're talking about, where these betas turn into, real runs and they become part of the program, and they're able to do the things that you all are concerned about, from the Smashwords perspective and the Drafted Digital perspective, is that a reasonable timeline for you all? Do you feel like 4 to 5 months is a good gauge, a good idea? You can be patient enough to wait for that.
Fortunately, the advantage of being an indie is that it's our time and it's when we decide. So in terms of me, I can sit and wait all year and see if they mess up, how much they have to pivot, how much they have to adjust, and see, there are other people that are much more responsible in terms of publishing than me, in terms of audiobooks and print books and digital books, and they go wide and stuff like that. And people whose opinion that I respect and I appreciate, because they know what they're doing while I'm winging it.
So are you essentially asking, when do we think we can expect to have a dashboard with everything together?
No, I'm essentially asking you if 4 to 5 months is a good enough timeline for you. Do you feel like that's you're patient enough to wait for that? Do you feel like Smashwords and Drafted Digital need to get their shit together right away and put it down?
I'm not waiting on anything to publish. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of being in indie, is that you're flexible with your timelines. So, I mean, I guess if you're doing rapid release for books and you want to have something and you've already got files in the can and you're waiting for a drop date, and now there's another format in the mix that you didn't plan for, that could be a bitch. But for me, like, doesn't matter.
So let me put it another way. Let me put it this way then.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what's coming. You know that it's happening. March 1st, it's happening. Regardless of what bugs there are, what isn't there, and what is there. You know March 1st is happening. You're not going to tell me on March 1st or March 2nd you're not going to go check it out.
I won't. I have other stuff to do. I have the Puerto Rico Comic Con coming in April, so I have to work on.
Crowd, Joe.
I have to work on releases for that. I'm not going to be focused and dependent on a new platform that is going to be ironing out kinks.
I'm not saying be dependent on it, but just checking it out, looking at it, seeing how it works. And
you've seen how easily I get distracted. You think I'm going to pay attention to it? It's like, dude, I'm going to check out what you and Katie have to say and go like, okay, ponder, squirrel, shiny object, and then 3 months down the line. And that's just the nature of me. And again, it's also the nature of listening to people that have their finger on the pulse on stuff way better than me. Again, I'm easily distracted. So I have no fucks to give in terms of March 1st. In terms of March 1st, I'm just gonna and I'm just gonna see my friends, and I'm gonna see who has good things to say, who has bad things to say, and who is like constantly bitching and saying this is not what I wanted.
Okay, so March
everything.
So everybody tune in on March 11th when Katie and I talk about it. And good night, goodbye. Have a nice day.
That's my opinion, but that's me.
So I think
I'm okay with that.
Joe's operating from a mindset of like someone who wants to go in on the news and like the rabbit holes and get to know all the latest news, and that's just not how I operate. I'm behind the curve, kind of like what JD is saying on all of the things, because that's safer, being behind the wave, right? So I feel like what I would want to do as a publishing production model would be have a, I don't know, every 6 months check in and be like, okay, is this doing okay? Do I change it? Is this doing okay? Do I change it? But I have to consider them all at the same time. If I'm constantly running back and forth and like considering decisions that are overlapping, I just drive myself crazy and drive myself right out of business. So,
well, you were talking about earlier how with Smashwords you had to go back and make some adjustments already because of the things that they did or didn't do.
Once a year.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, when you do that once a year.
Okay, but
when do you do that once a year? Is there a certain date that you do that, or is it just whenever you feel like it?
Is it on March 1st?
Yeah. Thank you, Courtney.
You're welcome.
To speak to the date, what I will be doing is that I will be taking everything off Kindle Unlimited, because I will be watching. But since they have such a wide window in terms of if you cancel that, you have to give like 90 days until it's out of the system or something like that. I'm late in terms of that, but it's something that I have planned to do either this week or next weekend. Again, because I'm not a responsible adult. I'm not responsible with publishing, but I am one of millions of people that are going like, I really don't want to keep depending on Amazon exclusively. And I will push people to look for my stuff elsewhere. And I do plan on releasing something that won't be on Kindle. It's like, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. This book is not going to be available on Kindle, and see what happens. And if people gravitate towards that, and if beyond tea reviews and candy reviews and Double O bananas, people care enough about my work to go like, okay, I'm going to hop on with you. And if that happens, that'll inform my decision in terms of a lot of things.
Which is that's the silliest non-compete I've ever heard of. Okay, so you're gonna tell me 90 days. What are you gonna do if I go ahead and just publish on Smashwords? You're gonna kick me off? You were gonna kick me off anyway in 90 days. So what the fuck, you know?
There's a lot of silly things.
Yeah, I agree with you, JD. Absolutely. And my girlfriend Mandy's like a marketing genius. She's brilliant at it, and she's been saying for over a year, 2 years, that you want to drive people to your own platform. Like when we're using Facebook ads and running them straight to Amazon, we are selling our books, yes, but we're also building Amazon. We're not showing people where else they can find us. We're not building our own platform to have something to fall back on when the market does shift or when the market does pivot, because we could move over to the new Smashwords Draft to Digital merger and try and do that exclusively. But what if that doesn't work? Then your books are just shit out of luck. So, I mean, she's been pushing to build your own platform on your own website and sell your books direct from your own website. But it's so much work to get over all those hurdles. And you really want to use Amazon, Draft to Digital, the Smashwords merger. All these different things are just delivery tools to bring them to you and your brand. You don't want to use it to build their brand.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of marketing geniuses and gurus.
Gosh. Yes. No, Mandy is awesome. I love her. And she has some great ideas. I love that building your own platform and sending them back to you. And then you can also send them out to your social media and all that stuff and make them fall in love with you more than falling in love with buying some more crap from Amazon. Because, they get on there, they click the Amazon ad, they see your book, and it's like, JD, they're like, squirrel, oh, there's something else over here I need to buy, and they forget all about your book. But as far as March 1st and looking at the options at Findaway and at the marketplace, I won't be there on March 1st because I have an anthology due that day. So everybody's going to be sending me submissions and I'm going to be reading them for like the next week. And that's all I'll be doing. I'll just be locked in a room reading them. But after that, I do plan on looking at it. Audiobooks is something that I've thought about doing before. I actually used to be into voiceovers. Before I started doing all the author stuff, I used to do voiceovers on Fiverr, and then I also had like a DJ drop service I used to do stuff for. So I'm actually going to think about looking at it from a narrator point of view as a way to make extra money and kind of cut down on some of my more strenuous tasks that I do at Fiction Atlas, like editing and things like that take a lot of my time. And they do pay well, but they take so much time and they're so frustrating that I could just do voiceover and make more money. So I'm going to look at it from a narrator's point of view because I don't really want to support Audible, especially with the way they have been treating all the authors there. And this gives me another place that I can connect with other authors and maybe help them do their books. So it's something to check out, but I don't think I'll be there on opening day as they, shoot the gun and everybody goes across the start line.
Okay. All right. Well, just to be clear, March 1st is the D2D launch. So Draft to Digital new platform launches. Findaway Voices is already launched. That launched on Monday.
So is this the most?
You weren't there, obviously. So
So is this the most skeptical panel that you've had talking about this topic? Everyone's like, man,
we're the honey badger panel. We don't give a shit.
No, it's like use it for sure, but don't fucking depend on it. You know what I mean? Don't put all your eggs in that basket. And I'm excited to see what it looks like.
I wasn't okay. Let's clear the air here. I'm going to make myself big just to clear the air here for a second. I'm not saying this is the be all end all. This is going to change everything. I'm not saying that this is the moment that your life completely changes and your marketing completely changes and everything. I'm not even saying using it. I'm just saying you aren't fucking curious. You wouldn't go there on March 1st just to see it, to look at it. That's what I'm asking.
No, so I am definitely going to check it out. I like to see how things initially hit the market, and also to JD's point, you see how the company pivots as well. You see how well they handle all those hurdles. Because any situation, even an author, like how we're talking about, a lot of us just kind of wing it. We use educated guesses with stuff that we've researched, but we're like, yeah, I'm going to see if that works. And then I'm going to check the data and see if the data worked, but like.
And not everything works for everybody the same way, right?
No, absolutely. Everything's different. Margaret, it looked like you were excited.
Well, no, I had a question. So I did some researching on this because I didn't know what the hell was going on. And one of the interviews I saw on, let's see, it was either on audio.
She's got open tabs. I feel so inappropriate. Jesus Christ. That you did like proper research. I read what Joe sent us and I'm like, wing it, freak.
So there's a lot of talk about
I can speak on this for an hour. Fuck it.
social reading, social audio, and then one of the things that the Findaway guy, Will Dages, was talking about was that he's seeing some innovation possible on the royalty sharing front, specifically not splitting royalties of production, which is what Findaway is now doing with Marketplace, but splitting royalties on the distribution side. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? So I'm looking at his, as you say, his style of pivoting, and I'm just getting a little skeezed out because now I'm like, okay, what you're changing the payment structure as it's changing, and I don't understand how you're doing this, or like how you're recovering your money, or who's gonna benefit from this or whatever. So
and he has to get Spotify's approval on any of this to begin with. So,
and we don't know what that's going to look like.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you for being there for me. You are always there for me, and I appreciate it.
That's Joe tossing a coin to Anita.
Yeah, damn right. But you're right. It's weird. It gets weirder as we go along. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up was the idea that this thing is really lining up to compete with ACX. That's what it's designing itself to do, and it had a relationship with Smashwords at one time. I think it still has a relationship with Draft to Digital. So I think they're going to be incorporating it. But it's odd. It's also odd that in these merger talks, has anybody heard anything about audiobooks in the merger talks? I have not. And I've been following it vehemently. So, obviously none of you have been following it since you all don't care, but
the thing is that they mention it very surface level, maybe here and there, but they don't go into it's like, yeah, we're going to do this. And then they give you a 1-minute video where it's like a sizzle reel, and anyone can make a sizzle reel. But I've seen, again, when a new movie comes out, I'm not going to be there on the first day. When a new console comes out, I'm not going to be there on the first day. That same mindset applies to stuff that I do business wise and in terms of my books, because there are so many people that they want to be disruptive, but they're going against a really heavyweight fight. It's not and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and it's great to have bravado and be cocky and know that you're gonna take on the man. Another thing is to get in the ring, and everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I think they're gonna get punched in the face in those first 4 weeks. How bad is the punch gonna be? I don't know, but my experience with mergers and stuff like that is that the first couple of months, the first 3 days when they have the launch meetings and those wonderful sizzle reels, everything is golden, everything is kosher. And then the dust settles and you see all the shit and you go like, oh, that didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. And then I am just unwilling to put myself in a situation where I'm going to have to pivot and learn and adjust and use my time and use my effort and use calories and gray matter just to make things work. It's like, dude, make it easy for me and I'll be on board. If you want to overcomplicate things, don't worry. You will get the support that Smashwords got for me and Draft to Digital got for me, which is 0. Because I gave like a full 3.5, 4 months effort of making people buy my books. And now is when people are asking, are your books on Kobo and stuff like that? And now I'm going, okay, I'm getting more people asking me about that. So now it will benefit me. But it's like, I can pimp out a platform all I want, but if it doesn't work and it doesn't get me sales, then I'm not gonna. It's just bad business sense. Investing time and money in that.
Kobo. Let me ask you. 2008. I love you back too.
Margaret has one of her tabs open on her MySpace page.
Never.
The question I wanted to ask you, JD, though, is to follow up on what you were just talking about a little bit. Does it give you any warm feelings, any fuzzies that they've been saying? Hey, you got to be patient. You got to wait. We're going to, do you think that's a smart play on their part?
They're trying to clarify expectations. They're trying to generate enthusiasm while clarifying expectations and giving themselves a little wiggle room to mess up. I think it's a responsible thing to say because at least it shows transparency.
Yeah.
And I think by having that tone of communication and just trying to be a little more direct in terms of what they're doing and what they're expecting, people might go like, okay, I'll get on board with you. I'm not going to be paying attention on March 1st, but I will be listening. And if I hear buzz and I hear people saying great things, I will move hella fast. Because again, I stopped all my plans in terms of audiobooks because I've seen the nightmares that people are going through. And having an option that isn't a nightmare, even though it doesn't have the same reach, that is still extremely appealing to me. And to get into libraries and to get into other distribution channels. And again, Drafted Digital has a lot of good stuff going for it. For X or Y reason, it didn't work for me. Maybe it was I didn't do it the right way. Maybe it was the timing. I don't know. But all of this, what it makes me say is, I'm going to be listening. I want to give you a chance. And I want you to succeed so that I can hop on board. But I'm not willing to be in that first wave. When I'm surfing, I rarely take the first wave instead. And the same applies in pretty much every other aspect of my life.
Yeah. And just to layer on that, so I feel like if you have good faith with indies, it goes a long way towards adopting the platform, right? So if you're not in the first wave, but you want to keep your ear to the ground and listen, and if you hear that they're doing things that are beyond the bare minimum and they're trying to lift indie authors up and they've got a little bit of that spirit that makes you think that their heart is actually behind it. I mean, I'm not always thinking with my brain. I'm thinking with my who actually wants to support indie authors out here a lot of the time, which is why Joe's channel is so great. So, if we hear that, I feel like if they're doing extra on distribution, because I don't know what Findaway does for distribution. Do I see them distributing anywhere? No, I know one author here who has done all his audiobooks with Findaway Voices and has varying packages and splits and whatnot. And I don't know where he distributes them. I think it's mainly Amazon. So I'm kind of like, I am already a Libro.fm girl. So where does that put me in terms of competing, or are they going to be partnering at some point? Who knows? I am curious.
I'm curious to see what that is as well, because I think that's going to be one of the big hurdles that they have to get over is Amazon's delivery is so good. And a lot of people who get audiobooks from Audible and things like that, they have the subscription. So, I mean, they're getting $25 audiobooks for free, essentially, even though they're paying the $15 a month or whatever it is, but that makes people feel better about spending that $30 on the audiobook, so what is their pricing going to be for their audiobooks? Is the author going to be able to set that, or is there a minimum set from the company? And then, how are they going to deliver it? Where do you have to send people to get it? If it's like a link like BookFunnel that the author can control, put out, and embed wherever they want to, that would be all right, but if you have to send them and they have to sign up for a new platform and sign into everything, if it makes it difficult on the reader, then that might be the nail in their coffin.
If it's cumbersome, they're screwed. And that's pretty much when you're going up against Amazon. It's that beating them in terms of how to make things easy is pretty hard. And in terms for an indie author, they also have a lot of flexibility. I can mess up the upload of my book 20 times and I don't get penalized monetarily.
True.
Versus Ingram and other places that are like, okay, you have to get your shit together. And I know that's not popular with indie authors because a lot of us shoot from the hip. But a lot of us, our process is uploading and then seeing if it works and then ordering a print copy and seeing it physically and go like, okay, it works. And in terms of that, Ingram sometimes, if you're looking out for your budget, it's not going to be the easy option. And also in terms of interface, there's a learning curve versus Amazon, which is it's made for dummies like me that write on paper and transcribe it and then have to hammer it until it works digitally.
Yeah, ease of use is going to be huge on that.
Yeah, just to answer your one question about is they setting price, Findaway has a calculation that you can figure out to set your own price with. So they've always had that, but it's kind of odd. It's weird. It's a weird thing that they do. You have to set it at a certain level, and then then you can mess with the price. Part of the reason why Smashwords was such a great partner for Find a Way as the coupon aspect of things too. So Find a Way incorporated that into their system so they could use a Smashwords coupon for that as well. So Nita says I distributed my audiobook through D2D to Find a Way, and my audiobook links can be added to their book to read link. So
I don't know what books to read is.
That's handy.
What's books to read?
It's amazing. it's a link. It's a universal link that has every single platform out there. You can add paperbacks. Now you can add audiobooks. So anywhere that your book is available, pretty much, it's one link that you can like name something that you can actually remember instead of like X, Y, Z, whatever. And it's a lot easier.
Is it kind of like Bitly meets BookFunnel? Like all formats, the right link kind of thing?
Yeah, it creates a landing page for your books, and it'll show you the cover of your book and then everywhere you can get it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds convenient. That sounds like something I might do on March 1st.
There you go. Something you might also do on March 1st, Margaret, is pick up some books to read. And luckily for you, we have the Indie Connection. Do you want to say anything about this Indie Connections?
This is like the second time I've done Peter Pan. There will probably be a third time I've done Peter Pan. This is a Peter Pan retelling, and I'm showing you other retellings of Peter Pan because Peter Pan's one of my favorite books ever. So, of course, on my shelf, I have like 100 different retellings. But here are some indies that have also retold Peter Pan in a really interesting way.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. And today I'm going to be telling you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas. The first book I have for you is called Second Star by Brie Moore. All children, except one, grow up. 2 years after her flight to Neverland, Wendy Darling pretends that Neverland doesn't exist. She claims that she never knew a boy named Peter Pan, and most devastatingly of all, she starts to grow up. That is, until Tinkerbell shows up in Wendy's bedroom, asking her to return to Neverland. Wendy leaps from her window and follows the stars a second time, only to discover the lost boys are drunken teenagers, the Jolly Roger has a new captain, and Peter Pan wants her to give him the one thing that has the power to destroy Neverland for good: a kiss. Wendy must decide whether she would rather die with Neverland or come to terms with growing up before the last fairy falls. The second book I have for you is called Neverlander by Elora Burrell. If you thought the tales ended with Wendy, think again. The stories of the infamous Peter Pan have been passed down Wen's family for generations, but now the tales hang over her like a shameful reminder of their entwined history with the fabled place. That is, until she discovers that the stories were in fact true. Lost in a Neverland much different to the tale she's been told, she must find a way home. But when the evil that lurks there rears its ugly head, she finds herself inescapably caught up in the midst of it all. With the fate of Neverland hanging in the balance, Wen must decide which path to take, the one that leads her home or the one that leads to trouble. The third book I have for you is called The Carver by Jacob Devlin. The past is in his carvings, the future's in his hands. 15-year-old Enzo Delegno never would have believed his father's carvings were anything more than stupid toys. All he knows is a boring life in an ordinary Virginia suburb, from which his mother and his best friend have been missing for years. When his father disappears next, all Enzo has left is his goofy neighbor Pietro, who believes he's really Peter Pan and that Enzo is the son of Pinocchio. What's more, Pietro insists that they can find their loved ones by looking to the strange collection of wooden figurines Enzo's father left behind. With Pietro's help, Enzo sets off on an adventure to unite the real-life counterparts to his figurines. It's enough of a shock that they're actually real, but the night he meets the girl in the red hood, dark truths burst from the past. Suddenly, Enzo is tangled in a nightmare where magic mirrors and evil queens rule, and where everyone he loves is running out of time. And the last book I have for you is called The Pan by Jenny Hickman. Since her parents were killed, Vivienne has always felt ungrounded, shuffled through the foster care system. Just when liberation finally seems possible, days before her 18th birthday, Vivienne is hospitalized with symptoms no one can explain. The doctors may be puzzled, but Deacon, her mysterious new friend, claims she has an active never gene. His far-fetched diagnosis comes with a warning. She is about to become an involuntary test subject for a Humanitarian Organization for Order and Knowledge, or HOOK. Vivienne can either escape to Neverland's Kensington Academy and learn to fly. Did he really just say fly? Or risk sticking around to become a human lab rat. But accepting a place among the Pan members means Vivienne must abandon her life and foster family to safeguard their secrets and hide in Neverland's shadows forever. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!
And as always, you can check out the links to those books as well as the links to the folks here and everything like that over in the description. Please do go check those books out. They sound wonderful, especially if you're a Peter Pan fan. And as always, the covers are gorgeous. And yes, out of the fire, into the pan. Oh. Yeah, so everybody go check that out. And thank you, as always, to the wonderful C.L. Cannon for what she does for us each and every week here on This Week in Indies. We really do appreciate it. It's pretty awesome. It's one of my favorite parts of the hour, so that I can relax and don't have to speak or don't have to defend myself.
Someone's feeling picked on.
I am so picked on. Gosh, man.
Come on, you needed an episode that had a more fuckery than information, and yeah, we have delivered.
You have delivered tenfold for sure. Absolutely, no, it's great. No, I love you guys, so it's all good. It's all good. So, but so we've established that none of you are going to on March 1st be excited about Drafted Digital coming out. None of you have probably. I mean, you probably checked it out because I mentioned it for this week that we were going to talk about it. Find a Way Voices Marketplace, but you probably wouldn't have checked it out if I hadn't told you that. Until, of course, you needed an audiobook, and then then maybe you'd look at it, maybe not. So I'm wondering when Amazon makes its retaliatorial strike, when it decides that, you know what, we think this is a little too close for comfort for us. We want to take these guys down. As JD mentioned earlier, it's probably going to happen. There's all of a sudden going to be plenty of articles about how many bugs there are in the system and things like that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but don't tell me that Amazon's not a little bit behind all of those, right? A little bit. So in that
appearing in the middle of the night, that kind of thing.
Mark Coker wakes up in Vancouver in his underwear, tied to a fence, that kind of thing. I'm curious from each of you, if Amazon does attack, do you feel like that's an indictment on the idea of that they're making a mark, they're making a dent? Or do you feel, and that might fuel the opportunity for you to then go and check it out? I mean, whatever. Let's not get into when you're going to check it out, because obviously it's sometime in the next year, or maybe not, maybe in 2 years, whatever. But do you feel like if Amazon comes firing out, that's a good sign for indies? Do you feel like it just really doesn't matter? I mean, are you worried? I mean, where do you stand in terms of this next few weeks and how it's going to come about, right? So
I think the next few weeks are going to be a bit of a moot point. Talk to me in 4.5-5 months, and because they're going to wait and see. They have enough capital to wait and see. They're not going to wait around forever and see. And what I've seen from Amazon is that if they perceive something as a proper threat, the intent to buy is going to be the tail. If they go like, oh, they're talking about negotiations to try to buy it or something like that, or you see that they're more aggressive with anything, you go like, something's making them nervous. I haven't seen anything that makes them nervous. And they have a lot of capital, and they're content with all the categories to just put a dent in the market until they dominate it. In terms of random sales, Amazon is king. In terms of streaming services, they're not king, but they're pushing, and you see that they're pushing. And Netflix, who was a giant, is bleeding out the everywhere because everyone has brought their A game in the last year and a half. They've brought great content. In terms of book sales, tell me one other place where you buy books, and it's going to be an indie bookstore. Probably it's not going to be another large company. So anything that makes them feel uncomfortable, it's definitely worth keeping your eye on.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if and when Amazon will attack. I mean, like you said, if they get big enough, obviously they will. If they're taking too much of Amazon's market or profits or whatever, they'll do something about it for sure. But I really think that they should lean into the audiobook market and the idea of connecting the producers with the creators. So if you more of like a almost social media kind of aspect for connecting people together. If you connect voice artists with authors and, authors with this and that, if they can focus on that type of community and building that kind of thing and making it really easy to pair people together that would work together, then I think that would give them their best bet with competing to Amazon, because Amazon doesn't really do that.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room then, because we're. I'm sorry.
I said I lost weight. That's rude.
The 750-pound gorilla.
Okay, let's talk about the other, nicely losing weight gorilla in the room. All right, Spotify is a giant, right? And this is their moment. Well, they're trying to be. They're trying to be a giant. Okay, let's give them that at least. They're trying to be a giant. And what they're trying to do is rule the audio realm, and in every aspect, podcast to, Apple saw this happening and they split their divisions up, and now there's Apple Podcasts, there's Apple Music, there's Apple this, Apple that, because they wanted to, categorize it. Spotify is saying, let's bring it all back together and put it in one spot. This is where we're going to do it, and we're going to be the conduit for that. But people have had issues with Spotify. Musicians have had issues with Spotify. Podcasters have had issues with Spotify. And Spotify has not treated the artist as well as they should. Mm-hmm. But with Drafted Digital and Smashwords becoming, using Findaway Voices and being a part of Findaway Voices at some point, at least, if not now or if in the future, they need allies to take on the Zon, right? Is there a weird kind of idea that Spotify, being a bigger name, a bigger conglomerate or a wannabe conglomerate, having that kind of ammo in your with you, is that something that we can get behind, or are we going to just spit on Spotify for the wretchedness that they've created with artists forever? I mean, it's a kind of a weird conundrum we're in at this point, right? Because they're going to need allies. Drafted Digital is going to need allies. They can't do this on their own.
It doesn't sound like Findaway Voices is getting the culture of Spotify, whatever that's called, rainwatered down to their level. They're still talking about stuff that's very indie minded, it sounds like. So I don't know.
Again, it goes down to accessibility. Spotify, it might have its issues. My issues of switching services was because compensation for artists. In this conversation with indies and going to books and whatnot, it changes it. And there's not that spillover. The two main controversies are the Joe Rogan thing and the whole compensation for artists. Those two topics don't seem to apply at all. And I think it's a bit of the enemy of my enemy is my ally in this occasion. Sure, some people might have a weird taste in their mouth of allying themselves to a company that's owned by Spotify. But if it goes against Amazon, that's where people are going to choose alliances. And in terms of that conversation, who sucks less? And definitely there's still some great things in terms of Spotify. And yes, the Joe Rogan issue is an issue, but we're also talking about freedom of speech and whatnot. It's just a very complicated issue in terms of how they're handling it. And they're still trying to level that out. And they're seeing some numbers that have made them react. So people seeing how they're reacting, etc., is a lot better than Amazon, that when they have a situation where people call bullshit or foul, they go like, I don't care. The entire ACX situation has turned me off from audiobooks, and seeing something that motivates me again. It's like, in terms of Spotify, yes, I switched services, but it's not like I'm never ever going to use Spotify again. It's just that I'm going to keep my eye on it. In terms of Amazon, it's like, I really wish I had another option.
Fair enough. Anybody else want to chime in? All right, guys. Thank you so much.
I'll say something. I'm not someone who's used Spotify. I've not really feel motivated to use it after all the controversy that has gone on. I actually feel really bad that I still use Amazon Music, but I don't use it that much. But I feel like, again, you're talking about Amazon. They have such conveniences. Everything is kind of packaged together. Everything's on the Amazon site. They have all their apps that get suggested to you and things, and everything's kind of together. You pay for it one time. It's a lot easier. And Amazon, the difference between Amazon and almost every other country is, like JD said, they have so much capital. They don't really give a crap about anybody except for the customer. The customer is always right. Even if it's something that the customer did wrong or the customer's fault, they'll give them their money back. They don't care if they're compensating any of the authors or any of the narrators or anybody on the production side of it. So, because they have unlimited funds, they don't really care. That's why they can sell books for the way that they sell them. They sell them for cheaper than sometimes in bookstores, because they're actually taking the loss just to get you to their marketplace. So I would like another company to come and kind of wipe out Amazon, but I don't feel very optimistic about it. I don't feel like Spotify, even if like Draft to Digital and Find a Way Voice, if everything even bound together and went against Amazon, I just don't feel like in the long run it's going to do a lot of good. I don't think we're going to get more than 50% of people to switch from Amazon to something else, just because it's such a big monopoly and it's such a big part of everyone's lives. And it kind of sucks because there's only certain people like me and JD and like people like us that are indies and we know the struggle, that will go to another service because of the ethics of that company. And most people just want convenience.
Yeah. Well, and now that Courtney said she's not a Spotify user, I feel newly empowered to say I am not either.
Yay.
I mean, subscriptions are the future. They're also, as you said, the big wave. Everyone's got their own subscription service. Don't make me big. I want to be part of the panel. Thank you.
You are big.
But yeah, it's like I don't think anyone's going to bat Amazon off their block either. I really wish that the government had some power to actually use the laws that are meant to control people who get this big and, make more fair competition, but that's just not where the world we're living in. So I feel like what we need, Joe, is the last alliance of elves and men.
It really
so
is.
So many Lord of the Rings references in this show.
That's hilarious. When you were talking about it, I was thinking, like you said, that they need allies. You were like, they're going to need allies to take on Amazon. The first thing I thought was like, well, when Daenerys wanted to go for the Iron Throne, she had to go around get everybody to join her cause and bring them over to King's Landing. So that's exactly.
Hey, I'm all for the Fellowship of the Indies. Let's make it happen.
There you go.
Let's start it right now.
Yeah, but Anita makes a great point. As long as Find a Way Voices controls compensation, then Spotify may be a non-issue. But the one thing you can say about this is that Spotify is a name. Spotify is a name that we all know and recognize. Like I use StreamYard to run these shows, which is a name, which is the smash words of streaming of streaming services, basically, and
works better than smash words.
That's what I was going to say. Don't talk about it like that, Joe.
But in the context of what we're talking about, when you tell somebody to be on the show, they always ask you for what? The Zoom link, right? So whenever you look at audio, what's the first thing somebody says? Where's your Spotify playlist, right? So that name alone might be able to carry weight, but is Spotify willing to take that risk? Yes, because I think what they're doing is really aimed at Amazon. What Drafted Digital is doing is not aimed at Amazon. It's aimed at indies, and it's aimed to get more indies more help. And so in doing that, will that create the fight between them and Amazon? I think ultimately they would love to take on Amazon, but they're smart about it. They won't say that out loud. They won't venture into that aspect of it. But when indies unite, as we've seen, we're a powerful force. We can control marketplace in some respects. We can try, and in doing so, that's going to make Amazon notice. And when you have a name like Spotify behind you, as JD said, the enemy of my enemies, right? So it's maybe, but they haven't really talked about that as much either. So I mean, they're very careful about how they word it.
They don't want to poke the bear. They want to kill the bear eventually, or at least wound it, but they don't want to poke the bear. It's like, if we're gonna hit, we're gonna hit effectively. We're not just gonna kill. We're not just gonna aggravate.
Well, go ahead, Margaret.
Besides JD, are you guys on KU?
A couple of my books, and I can take my books off, and it's not going to make a dent in anything.
Okay, all right. Just wondering, because I that's another sort of big issue that people I see the Courtney Project actually talking a lot about, because there are people who make plenty of money on Kindle Unlimited because they figured out how to make it work for them, but she is not one of them, and she makes $1 million. So it's just like, you can find either way to go. So yeah.
And well, I was going to say, to because I don't do it enough, I'll pimp my own stuff here. Late night news, as everybody's mentioning, you should go check out. My colleague Katie Saletta said the one thing that is really great about this in the last episode, which you can go check out now on our channel, Go Indie Now. The last episode, she mentioned that what the hope is for her is that this makes Amazon take notice and makes Amazon a better place as well. So, there's could be that aspect of it too. Maybe we don't want Amazon to get beat or die, but we just want them to take notice so that they treat us a little better, right? And I mean, we can all work together. We can be harmonious and loving and together, right? Fellowship of the non-indies.
Unions first, and then come back and talk.
All right. Well, let's start the Fellowship of the Indies right here, right now. Mark Coker, Chris Austin, I'm calling you out. Let's do it. Fellowship of the Indies right here. All right. But that being said, I have my own fellowship, and they're wonderful. And I don't care how much fuckery they cause. They are always welcome here, and so awesome to be here. So let's go around and find out where you can actually support these wonderful people. So Courtney, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at clcannon.net. You can find me on every single social media platform except for Snapchat at CL Cannon or CL Cannon author for most of them. Instagram is CL_Cannon because I was stupid a long time ago when I made it and I didn't think about branding. But I'm all over. Mostly Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are my main ones. Sometimes I'm on Twitter, but it's usually just to promote something and leave. So,
Awesome.
I've got a new anthology coming out March 1st, which is like the date or something for the show. But March 1st is the last day to get in submissions for Wicked Wishes, which is a Be Careful What You Wish For anthology, and all the proceeds are going to go to the World Literacy Foundation. So I hope some more people will submit, because I think it's going to be a great one. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. And I just have to put this out before I go to JD. You talk, as soon as I went to you and you talked, a plane went over your head. That is like so like.
It's on brand, isn't it?
Right, yeah, it's so kismet, right? It's so funny. All right, JD, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
In the socials, JD Estrada writer. If you look for JD Estrada, you're going to find Filipino people. And although I love my sisters and brothers from the Philippines, if you want to find me, you have to add the writer. In terms of me, I got books. I always recommend people to buy my books from an indie bookstore back home called Tazas y Portadas. If you like middle grade, I got the middle grade. If you like poetry, I got the poetry. If you like urban fantasy, these are good to kill a good rat. Check this out. It's good. It's heavy. And if you like nonfiction, by all means, have some peace, love, and Maki rolls with me. Margaret?
I'm looking for who's next. I was just grabbing my books because you grabbed yours, so I'll do it. Hey, everybody. Margaret Pinard. It's pretty unique, so I guess you could just search my name. I am mostly on YouTube. I just hit 500 subscribers. Very excited. A year and a half.
Channel.
So very excited about that. The books that I have are subgenres of historical fiction. So contrary to the description, Memory Sausage is my first book, historical mystery. The next one is YA supernatural history happening in Nova Scotia, like some of our lovely audience happens to be living in. Then we've got my series Remnants, The Keening, Grasping Root, and the latest Stormwreck and Spindrift. And these are all in the UK in the 19th century about immigration and family dynamics and some social commentary, which you may have noticed I like to throw in there as some missiles. So that is my work. That is my YouTube. I'm also on Twitter at Taste Life Twice, and I do spend a lot of time there. But yeah, fuckery. Let's do it. Fellowship.
And I'm Joe Compton. This is Go Indie Now. Congratulations, you found us. Welcome. Stay a while. Go check out what we're doing. We've got plenty of stuff going on all week long, all day long, every day, all day, every month. We're live quite a bit, and yeah, just come and check us out, hang out with us. And while you're here, you might as well smash that like button, because you want to do it. It's just tempting. Right there, it's right there. Smash that like button, comment, subscribe, share, do all those wonderful things. And thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And that being said, it's now time for the final 5 minutes, and it belongs to the one and only Mr. Adam Johnson. So, Mr. Johnson, take it away. It's all yours.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I am Adam Johnson, as I said at the beginning of the show, fantasy author, science fiction author. I do a lot of different stuff. I have a novella out right now, and that's leading up to a novel that I'm having come out at the beginning of next year. So yeah, all kinds of stuff. But that's kind of like what I built my brand on, or am building my brand on, is like, because everybody always tells you that you need to niche down. They're like, you need to find your niche, you need to settle into something. And I try to do that so often. And I've been writing for a long time, but I've never really went through with a lot of it, just because of that, because I would try to niche down on writing, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. That is it. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to present myself as a writer, and that's it. And then that didn't feel right, and then I moved into other things, and I'm like, well, I'm going to present myself as this, and that's going to be what I am and what I'm going to dive into, and I found that that doesn't work for me. I can't just do the one thing and be the one thing and be happy about it, so I was trying to follow sage advice from a lot of people of niching down and making yourself known and easier to find and easier to market yourself to, but it just didn't work for me. So from that, my company Glitch Media was born, and it's a media company and umbrella that I basically do everything under. So I have a food blog, and I make recipe cards weekly for my newsletter that goes out, my author newsletter. Actually, I include the food blog in there, put recipe cards in there, and eventually I'm going to have enough for a cookbook, and I'll organize it all into a cookbook and put that out as well. And that's just, an easy little niche quiche recipe. That's beautiful, JD. We'll make that together, but yeah, so I'm gonna have that, and that's pretty exciting because it's just something that I do weekly to give an extra bonus to my newsletter followers. It's just providing more value for being here rather than just trying to sell to them all the time. But from that, I'm going to eventually have a cookbook made from that, just from little bits of effort every week, and that'll be an exciting thing as well. Also, I do the Kingdom of Heavy podcast with our host here, Joe Compton, weekly podcast where we talk about all things fantasy and metal. As far as I know, it's the only podcast on the internet that focuses on both fantasy and metal, but it's things that we love. We love music, we love fantasy, we love sci-fi, we love story, and not even just books. We love TV, movies, anything that can be considered fantasy, sci-fi, video games for myself as well. Yeah, we just go on about that, and every week it's been getting better and better, and it's really exciting to do it with Joe as well, because Joe's a very knowledgeable guy himself, and he makes a lot of great points and a lot of great counterpoints that I wouldn't have necessarily thought of or had the idea to talk about. So it's been a great experience working with Joe as well. And this is not just tout Joe hour because it's his show. I'm not doing that. He's really a good guy. So yeah, no, I do all kinds of things, and so happy to do it. If you wanted to check it out, the website is getglitchmedia.com. And everything, getglitchmedia.com/blog for the food blog, and you'll find some Kingdom of Heavy stuff on there as well, and glitchmedia.com/books or getglitchmedia.com/books for my books, and also featured books that I recommend based on what I like to read and what I like to write and things like that. And there's a lot more coming with that as well, and all the podcasts are actually listed on getglitchmedia.com as well. So yeah,
right,
that's a little bit about me. And if you want to find me on the socials, like Joe said, it's at Adam J. Author.
Awesome. And Adam, what's the magic words so you can finish this show off for us? It's always time. It's always time to go indie now.
Oh, okay. It's always time to go indie now.